Hey Internet, it's David, and I'm here with another Bible review. Thank you so much to Zondervan for the review copy of the single column reference, wide margin, Premier Goatskin Bible. So thank you guys for that. If you're familiar with the Premier collection already from like Thomas Nelson, who does the New King James, I have not seen any of the NIV. The big difference to me on the exterior is just the different ribbon colors that they have. But this is a goatskin cover. Now, I don't know if the goatskin on the New American Standards from Thomas Nelson is actually different, because they both feel different. This is the Preacher's Bible that I've reviewed a month or so ago, and both of these feel different than the New King James Premier goatskins that I have. And so they seem a little bit tougher, but they're still just as supple. You can still roll them up and they're fine. And you're not gonna hurt them on either. They're a little bit tougher to touch than the New King James ones. But still, they open just as nice. They're just like, blah, open up. That's because they're edge lined. And so they have a softer, I'm guessing it's more of a synthetic liner inside, where some of the other guys will put like a calfskin or a goatskin liner in it. So I don't know what the liner is made out of, but when you get that little crease right there, it's the liner being glued in between the cardstock. So that's edge line binding. I prefer that. I don't like the paste down where you have the paper that's glued on here with the book board in between. That makes a real stiff cover. I like the nice floppy covers. I like stiff covers in their proper context, but for a Bible, I really like the floppy covers. But anyway, that's it. Goatskin cover on their Premier collection. Only comes in black and Premier, but you can get the same text block in other colors as well, but they're going to be like the fake leather covers or other things that they've got going on. I prefer the goatskin because I've had tragedies happen with other Bibles, but it seems like the book block itself is put together well, and I'm not sure. You'd have to look and see if the paper's the same. This is a 32 GSM, real high quality paper. It's a 10.5 point font, so it's half a point bigger than their Preacher's Bible. It's a great format. The paper is beautiful to write in, and I'll write in it here with you in a moment. The single column, verse by verse, and New American Standard has been a classic layout since it came out in the 70s. And so a few different publishers have done this, but it's just a nice, functional, lots of room for writing, and it's verse by verse. So great teaching Bible. When I look at this Bible and the size it is, you know, it's not as big as the original Preacher's Bible, but it's definitely bigger than the Lockman SCR and is much heavier. And so when I look at this, the word that comes to my mind is serious. This is a serious Bible. This seems like a real seminary guy's Bible, but I mean, it could be any other kind of person's Bible too, but it's just a serious Bible. Again, a familiar layout in a general sense, but Zondervan, along with the rest of the Premier collection, they've really refreshed it, so they've done some different things, changing the font to their comfort print font, and then instead of bold chapter numbers and headings and reference points, they just use bold red so things stand out. They're a lot easier to find. My only beef with this is the footnotes are minimal. I wish they would have put all the footnotes in here. When I read the Bible, the footnotes are such an important part. The footnotes are the Bible to me. And I really want the footnotes in there. And I'm going to give you an example of, where I missed the footnotes. In Romans chapter 10, verse 4, it says, Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes. And there's no footnote there. But if you go look at the Lockman, for instance, and it's in the Schuyler's and editions that have the fuller footnotes, you have a footnote here in verse 4 where it says Christ is the end of the law. And you go over and it says, or the goal of it, which is a huge important footnote. Without that footnote, we would come to wrong conclusions, as Christ is like the stopping of the law. But here you have a very important footnote that's missing, that's saying actually Christ is the goal of the law. So end doesn't mean the stopping of it. End means like a means to an end, like a goal, like Christ is the goal of it. And then Romans chapter 10 makes a whole lot more sense, especially when Paul quotes Moses, when Moses in Deuteronomy 30 is saying like, look, this isn't too hard for you. Why? Because the word's near you and in your mouth. In other words, Christ is here. And so Paul quotes that and says, the word's near you and in your mouth. And so he's talking about that Christ who was near them in Deuteronomy 30 being right here. And this is the word of faith that he's preaching, is the word that was near them, the goal of the law, the Christ in the law. And so, anyway, very, very important footnote that's missing in here. And so I wish it had the full footnotes. It's got really good cross-references, but my heart misses the footnotes. Other than that, fantastic Bible. Super fantastic Bible. And you've got short little snippets on the introductions to the book. It'll give you like the title and the background, the author, and the date of writing, which is really important. And then they'll have a short little paragraph on what they felt like the theme of it was, and then a quick little outline, which can be helpful in a sense to give you kind of a starting point. But when it comes to those things, keep an open mind and don't get locked in on so much of the helps, and begin to saturate yourself and search all things out. But they can be helpful. There's also a concordance in the back, a hefty concordance in the back. For those of you who use concordances in Bibles, there's so many other tools available that I would rather trade any concordance for a nice signature notebook paper like Alan puts back there. And then, of course, you have the maps on the cardstock and the end pages there. And that is the Bible. So great Bible, awesome room. I think if it was going to be even more serious, it would just have the full footnote package. But I'll just show you the size difference between the Zondervan Premier Preacher's Bible and the SCR. And then I'll just open them up so you can see what they look like side by side. All right, so that's the other option from Zondervan for New American Standard. Now, one of its biggest competitors is going to be the Foundation single column reference. If you've seen past videos, you know I changed the ribbons and did the art guild. So it normally doesn't come like this. I have a review that shows what it looks like when it actually comes. The cover on the Premier is definitely thicker. This is a thinner cover, still edge lined, and this is calfskin on the Lockman, where the Premier is the goatskin. The end pages are thicker, so this one kind of springs open and has more of a hardback feel to it when you open it up, where the Premier collection is the and it's super floppy. The end pages flop with the text block. And I'll show you the size difference of these. Very similar footprint and size. The Premier is just a tad bit bigger than the Lockman in overall size. The Lockman is wider than the Zondervan. So at this point, minimal difference, but it's when we get into the guts of these where you really begin to see the difference. The Premier is going to have that gilt line that just frames the page nice for me as a reader. I put Art Guild on the Lockman because it helps frame it, but I miss the gilt line when I'm looking at the Lockman. But anyway, one of the first things you'll notice is the Lockman has such thin paper. The paper in the Premier collection is just amazing. It's setting the bar at a whole nother level of paper quality for Bibles this price, because the price point on both of these is very similar. Again, the Premier paper is amazing. The Lockman paper on the current editions really don't even compare in my mind. I love the Lockman Bibles, but it's time to put some better paper like they used to in some of their editions. Especially if in their calfskin editions, if they're going to compete with some of this premier stuff that's coming out at the same price point. We know it can be done because HarperCollins is doing it. But the other thing, though, is the footnotes. And so you'll look and notice the references and the footnotes on the side columns of the Lockman are a lot more filled out. And if you're going to take a column anyway, a whole section of the page to have references and footnotes, why not just jam everything you can in there like the Lockman does? And so the Lockman has the full footnote package, which is nice for reasons that I already explained. And so that's really the trade-offs. It's like, if you want a single column, verse by verse, reference, New American Standard, both wide margin, do you want the better paper or do you want the one with the footnotes? And that's really what it's going to come down to on both of these. If you're trying to weigh like, oh man, which one should I get? Paper, footnotes is the biggest difference. And so I can't tell you what's important to you. You got to figure that out on your own. The other one I'll show you is the Allen SCR, which is the same exact typeface as the Lockman that I just showed you, but without the wide margins. And so Allen put these out. They haven't printed them for a while now. This one is the second running, and I'll just show you the size difference because they still come up for sale used on Facebook and eBay every once in a while. So I'll show you the size difference if you're looking for one of the Allen SCRs. I changed the ribbons in this from those light golds to a sable color. I like that color so much better on this brown Allen. Typical Allen quality when it comes to the cover. Nice, supple Highland goatskin cover. Awesome cover. But here's why I would pick the Zondervan over finding a used one of these anytime. Is the cockling, they call it, in the gutter. I had this thing on pre-order for over a year, it seemed like. Either right under a year or right over a year. It was on pre-order and it kept getting pushed back and pushed back. This was my first Allen Bible and I was so excited to get it. And when it came in, it was great. I was looking at it, this was amazing. And as soon as I open it up, I hear this terrible sound. Just what in the world? The gutter is all wrinkled up. It's crazy. And then the pages in the gutter weren't even like cut right, and so you can see some of the print marks and the cut marks inside the gutter, and it was just so disappointing. It was like someone put a goatskin cover on the Sunday paper is what it felt like. You know when you open a newspaper and you hear that just wrinkling rip of the paper opening up? That's what this did. This is the second edition. So if you can find an Allen SCR and you're looking for one of these, make sure they send you a picture of the gutter in the New Testament, in the middle of the Bible, and the beginning of the Old Testament. And look for this stuff. Maybe have them run their finger over the gutter. If you see a used SCR for sale and you see the ribbon like just nicely placed in the gutter, they might be covering something up. And so ask him about the gutter because this one was a tragedy. This would be an outstanding Bible if it weren't for that. And so it is for that reason. The paper's decent. It's not that bad a paper, but it was just either sewn wrong or sewn too tight or something. And anyway, I was so sad. So it looks great closed and I've used it quite a bit, but I still can't get over that gutter. And so that's why I would choose the Zondervan every time if you find to use one of these. If they reprint these, I'm sure they'll end up being better. We need some SCR redemption from Allen if the Allen guys are watching. But anyway, if you find a used one, make sure it doesn't have wrinkling in the gutter. There are some out there, but they're rare. It's already a rare addition to find out there used. To find one without wrinkling in the gutter is even more rare. And they were most prevalent in the second printing. So if you find one in the third or the first one honestly is probably a little bit better. So anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So let me open it up here and you can see the size difference. You just lose that wide margin and it seems as if you have a little bit bigger font. and the Allen SCR. But again, that gutter though. So that's the Allen. Now, if you're not gonna have the full footnotes, which I wish this one had footnotes, this is the Steadfast Handy Size Preacher's Bible. It doesn't have any cross references or any footnotes. It's just room for writing. Much smaller Bible than the SCR, and I've been enjoying this one since it came in. So I'll show you the outside size difference. Now keep in mind, just like the Allen, the Steadfast has a yap, so the text block is much smaller than it's appearing on the spine. You'll see that when the camera comes around. And now we'll open these up. Smaller font, so you have a 10.5 in the Premier Zondervan versus a 9.5 in the Handy Size Preacher's Bible. I wish the Steadfast had footnotes in it. I feel like the minimal footnotes is just kind of like go big or go home type thing, and so at least these guys went home with it and there's no footnotes. So my knowledge of what's in the footnotes from reading other editions usually makes it in here, and I'll write important footnotes like that Romans 10:4 one, Christ being the goal of the law, and stuff like that. Footnotes that are really important, that really clarify the meaning of the chapter. Again, that Romans is such an important footnote to have in there because, again, Romans 10 makes so much more sense when you read Christ is the goal of the law in that chapter. But anyway, and you have room to write it in here, but if you're gonna have a footnote package, give us the full package. Can I get off my soapbox again? I know I keep jumping on that one. So those are all I was gonna show you today. And the last thing I'll do is write in it with you so that you can see what it looks like, so that you can see the ghosting. We're gonna do Psalm 101 today. It's one of my favorite Psalms ever. I will sing of your loving kindness and your justice. To you, O Lord, I will sing praises. I'll give heed to the blameless way. When will you come to me? I will walk within my house in the integrity of my heart. I love this. I will set no worthless thing before my eyes. And I hate the work of those who fall away. Whoever secretly slanders his neighbor, him will I destroy. No one who has a haughty look and an arrogant heart I will endure. My eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land, that they may dwell with me. He who walks in a blameless way is the one who will minister to me. And cross-referencing to verse 3, I'll set no worthless thing before my eyes. I think Psalm 13:3 would be a good one. So we'll just pin that in there. Alright, so you guys can see the marking there, and then we'll turn the page and check out the ghosting. Alright, thanks y'all for watching another Bible review with me. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been released all over the place, so just Google it, single column, New American Standard, Premier Collection for sale, and I'm sure they'll pop up. So I don't want to provide a link just because I don't know who's going to be selling and shipping these right now. So I'll let you guys do, the Googling on that. But thanks for watching this. If you enjoy the music playing underneath my video or any of my videos, it's all available for download at forloveoftheword.bandcamp.com. And if you appreciate the work and the ministry of this channel, then I would be blessed if you would stop by my Patreon page and pray about supporting my family and I in full-time ministry for as little as $2 a month and get a little bit more content over there. But until next time, y'all take care, and thanks again for watching. Bye.